I just need to take a picture of you all. Boom. Boom. Excellent. So we're going to talk about the brain, and it is literally my single favorite organ. Well, there are other organs that are very favorite, but the brain is an amazing thing. The first thing that I'm going to teach you, though, is just a tip so that as you're going through this disruption conference, you'll be able to actually be engaged, stay excited, and stay awake. Because I know if you're like me, I am a little bit jet lagged. I came from the United States yesterday, and here is a trick from neuroscience to give to you. So if you would look at the person sitting right next to you, this will help keep your brain awake. If you just look at that person right next to you, and when you get a little tired, this is the only thing that you need to do in order to wake up your brain. Just look at that person and lick their face. Just lick their face, and boom, right? Then you're awake. Go ahead, do it. No, you don't want to do that. All right, so you don't have to do that. So the brain, I travel a lot. I'm on airplanes several times a week. I travel over 100,000 miles a year, and I think airports are probably one of the single best places to actually watch bad behavior, watch people kind of lose their minds. And when I go into an airport, I oftentimes think that we have evidence that as a species, we might not survive, because when you think about how bad people behave and how they yell at the ticket agent to try and get onto the airplane and all of the things they do in order to try and get their way, it doesn't work oftentimes. And as a species, we actually are, it's amazing that we're even here. I mean, if you look at this room, look at the people in this room, none of us should be here. There's not one person in this room who should be here right now, because if you think about it, we are the dominant species on the planet, and yet we came here and we are the dominant species against all odds. When you look at the fact that as a species, we are not very strong. Not strong at all. This is not me, but this is me instead. The fact of the matter is that we aren't strong when we look at ourselves against I'm not sure what to do here, right? I need microphone. Oh, there it is. It's working. It's my brain going like this. So as the species, we're not very strong. And when you think about what we have to compete against, we're not the fastest. We can't camouflage ourselves very well. We're not very poisonous. We don't swim, not deep, not far, not for very long. We're not fierce. We're not strong. And we can't fly. So how did we get to become the most dominant, smartest species on the planet? We go again. Has to do, of course, with, I'm not sure where I go. Has to, can you hear me? Yep. No, cannot hear me? I need another microphone. That has to do with my brain. All right, there we go. So, yeah, that's all my Greek. That's all I know. Ευχαριστώ, παρακαλώ, uzo, that's it, right there. So the reason that we're here is because of this right here, this 3-pound gelatinous mass, the human brain. It's one of the most amazing organisms on the planet. There is nothing more complex that we know about on the planet other than this right here. And the amazing thing about it is that as entrepreneurs, you know, and as anyone who works knows, one of the things that we try to do is we actually try to keep it on at all times. And our world actually is battering our brain in ways that's actually slowing us down a little bit. And so today what I'm going to help us to understand are some of the things we can do to actually use our brains better, to have more energy, more stamina, to be able to actually live longer. We have technology in the world that allows us to actually keep our bodies alive till about 110 years old. We have medical technology that can do that. However, our brains lag way behind. We don't have the technology to keep our brains vital until old age. However, we do know we have information that allows us to actually focus our brain better if all we do is just simply pay attention to it. And that's what we have to do, is be able to pay attention to the ins and outs of our brain. In research right now, we know that by the year 2025, that 1 in 7 of us who are 55 years or older by the year 2025 will have some form of moderate to severe dementia. That's a little bit scary. So we're losing our minds at a very, very quick rate. And by that same time, at 55 years or over, 1 in 3 of us will have some form of mild dementia. And here's the thing, we're not wired to lose our minds. We don't have to lose our brain. We don't have to have dementia. We can have a clear brain all the way into 90, 100 years old, but the fact is that the distractions in our society, the pushes, the pulls, the constant beating that we give to our brain on a constant basis is actually crowding out our ability to be able to do and think the way that we want to. And as entrepreneurs, you want to be able to create. You want to be able to use your brain. So today I'm going to take you on a very, very, very quick journey about how we can focus a little bit more. The fact is that if we focus, our brains can do amazing things. So while we might not be the fastest, strongest, fiercest creature on the planet, the fact is that we can go faster than anything else on the planet. We can poison just about anything. We're able to camouflage and hide ourselves in ways no other animal can. We can swim faster and deeper than anything else out there. We're strong, we're fierce, and we can fly. We can do any and all of it. And that's what you're here in the room today to do, is to learn how to actually use our brain in a way that holds our species up to its very, very highest level. And in order to do that, we have to focus that human brain, because we have a messy brain. It's such a messy, messy place. I mean, how many of you forget where you put your car keys, or you forget when somebody's standing in front of you what you're about to say, or you forget people's names? And the fact is that as we age, we're going to lose some of that. So how many of you in here are 30 years or younger than 30 years old? All right, so there's a lot of you who are just children. So 30 years or younger, here's the thing, is that your brain stops basically growing between 25 and 30 years of age. It stops growing. And after that, you're either growing or you're shrinking. You have no choice. You're either growing or you're shrinking. And the inputs that you have in your brain are going to cause it to grow or shrink. What we want to do, of course, is to cause it to grow. After 30 years old, how many of you are between 30 and about 39 years old in here? Go ahead and raise your hands. So just a few of you, 30 to 39 years old, things start to slow it down a little bit. On your 40th birthday, you wake up, and that's the day you forget where you put your car keys for the rest of your life. How many of you are 41 years old or older? All right, so a few of us old people, for 41 years old or older, what starts to happen there? Basically on your 50th birthday, that's when you begin to start every sentence with, "Stop me if I've already said this." Because you likely have, right? Because you're forgetting what you say more and more and more. And the messier that our brain gets, the more we actually drop out information. So we want to actually keep our brains vital and excited throughout our lives, and that's what we're going to focus on. So in order to focus on it, we have to manage our distractions, and distractions are everywhere. They're in pop-up emails. They're in multitasking. If you have learned to multitask, it used to be the old adage, let's multitask, do more with less. We know that when you multitask, you decrease your ability, your IQ, by a minimum of 10 points. 10 points for females. For males, sorry, but it's about 20 points. It's just the way we are. It's about 20 points. So when we're multitasking, we can't do either one of the things that we're trying to do very well. We can do both of them, but not very well. So what we want to do is learn to focus, because that focus actually allows us to accomplish the great things that the human brain can. When we're multitasking, when we're working, it's only about 3 minutes before we're interrupted and pulled into something different. We can go at a maximum of about 12 minutes is what it shows us, 12 minutes of working in a specific topic before we get completely pulled away from that topic, and that's kind of a scary thing. So 12 minutes of focus is not a very long time, especially when you're creating what you're trying to create. There is an average of 25 minutes of recovery time once you have been distracted from that time. So for you to get back into what you're trying to do, it's going to be about 25 minutes for you to become fully absorbed. Here's what we know. There's a 1 in 4 chance likelihood of you getting back to the interrupted task in the same day. So when you're interrupted, there's only a 1 in 4 chance that you're actually going to go back to what it is that you were doing in the first place. That's a hard thing. If you're trying to actually create new ideas and new services, new products, we need to remain focused. Here's what we know from neuroscience. When we manage our focus, and we get it so that we actually can stay in the room, when we manage our focus, 1 hour of focus time equals 4 hours of distracted time. So if you can learn to focus your brain, you can get done in 2 hours what you typically get done in 8 hours. We're wasting a lot of time, and we're actually hurting our brain with all the pushes and the pulls. And if you have pop-up emails and something that comes into your smartphone that says, pay attention to this, pay attention to that, squirrel, 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 squirrel. The constant push and pull of that actually is very, very difficult on your brain. And so we need to actually do things that can focus our brain. So when we're looking at focusing our brain, the old mantra, as I said, the old thing that we used to say in the workplace was do more with less. Do more with less. Do you remember that? Do more with less. This is what we know from neuroscience. This is the new mantra. The new mantra is do less, but better. Do less, but better. Do fewer things, but deeper, but better, as opposed to being pulled all over the place with the messy mind. Because again, we know that the human brain doesn't interact with the environment well when it's pulled in a lot of different directions. The thing that we want to do is begin to manage our focus. That means we have to turn off pop-up emails. It means that we have to say no when people want to interrupt us. We have to close the door every once in a while. And sometimes we have to take ourselves offline so that we're not being interrupted by the environment. We want to return to how the brain is best designed to work. And when we return to that way, it's the thriving brain. So the 4 C's I'm about to give you, 4 things that in English begin with C. I don't know how they begin in Greek, probably with a letter I would not recognize. The 4 C's that the brain thrives on. These things create the most creative, analytical, brilliant, innovative brain. The first is this: certainty. The brain wants to know what's coming around the corner. When you're developing products and services for people, you want to develop products and services that create some degree of certainty in other people's lives. Because when we came out of the caves several thousand years ago, it was a scary, dangerous place. And so all of our architecture in our brain was designed to pay attention, what's around the corner. We still have that same architecture today. We still want to know what's coming around the corner. The brain craves certainty. It craves choice. It wants to be able to have choice. If you can develop something that gives people more choice, it actually is a very, very brain-friendly thing to do because the brain craves choice. It also craves control. We want to know that in some way, somehow, that we have some control over our environment, that we have some kind of status in the world, that we have some degree of control in the life that we're living. And if you can create products and services that give people back some control, it's a huge thing. And finally, completion. We like check marks. You like to, you know your to-do lists, the list that you have? What do you do when you finish something on your to-do list? You cross it off, right? And when you give yourself a check mark, you're giving yourself a neurochemical called dopamine, and it literally is the neurochemistry that says, do it again, do it again, do it again. We like to complete things. So completion, this is the thriving brain. When we have a messy, distracted brain, we can't complete things. And so completion is a huge, huge piece of the healthy brain. Goal and achievement. Here's what I'm going to kind of close with. Everybody put your hand up like this. When I say go, I want you to do something with your hand, okay? So think about what you're going to do with your hand. Think about it. Got it? All right, go. Put your hand up again. Do something different when I say go, and go. Okay, so what just happened there was very, very simple. What happened was in the motor cortex of the brain, and when we look at it, when we put our hand up and we think about what we want to do, and then we do it, it's an open, close, open, close, open, close activity. What we're doing is we're putting on our list something that we want to do and then to complete it. Goals are the same way. When you put a goal on your list, you've actually given your brain an open order, and your brain will work as hard as it possibly can to complete that order. When you have too many open orders on your list, your brain becomes distracted and becomes messy. The open, close, open, close, open, close begins to actually become the distracted brain. So when you have something on your list and you put it there, your brain says, you don't have to pay attention. It opens up the order. And it then says, Scott, you don't need to pay attention. I will pay attention for you. I will look at the environment and scan the environment, and when there becomes an opportunity to close that order, I will grab your attention. Have you ever had that where you've been talking to someone, you're just talking to them in conversation, and all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, and you remember that you forgot something, and now you're having to go out? That's your brain actually taking that moment and trying to close the order. When you have too much of that, you have the distracted, messy brain. So what we want to do is pay attention to this, and I will leave you with this idea right here. When we can focus our brain, we can begin to make choices, and choices is something extraordinarily important for the brain. We have the have to, the can do, and the must do. You have things on your list that you have to do every day. Pay bills, show up to work, do certain things, right? Every single day, the have to. You also have things that you can do, and so we oftentimes become distracted by all of the things we can do that we say that we want to do, but really what we want to put on our list and pay attention to and become extraordinarily focused on are the things that we must do, that we're called to do. So where are you? Are you in a job? Are you just in a place where it could be anything? All you're doing is doing that job so that you can make some money, that's it? Or are you in a career? And the career is just simply a group of jobs that you actually might like, but the goal is in the career is never about being in the career or being in the job you're in. It's always about getting the next one. Or are you in the must do? And I must do this. It means that you're in your calling. Entrepreneurs are in their calling, yes? And if you can focus your brain, you can eventually get to the place of living in your mission. But the fact is this, our brains will go anywhere you wish for them to go. However, they will pay attention to everything in the environment unless you tell your brain specifically what to pay attention to. When you tell it to pay attention to what you want it to pay attention to, you can create not only genius and amazing things, you can create impact in the lives of yourself and all of the people that you are trying to impact. I'll be here tomorrow for a deep dive around the brain. If you want to do the workshop with me, that's my little promotion tomorrow at 11 a.m. I want to say one last thing other than Uzo Efkaristo. I thank you very much. Have a great conference. Thank you.